Latest statement being reported on is from Qatar, saying that Israel has now freed 39 women and children from its jails as part of an agreement with Hamas. Earlier, Hamas released the first group of 13 Israelis, 10 Thai nationals and 1 Filipino, and that is on the first day of a 4-day truce, Israel calling it a humanitarian pause. This part of the release of 50 women and children over the 4 days being held hostage by Hamas in return for 150 Palestinian women and teenagers who have been jailed in Israel. Many joyful but weary Palestinians emerged from makeshift shelters at the start of this truce to begin the long journey back to their homes. And of course, this was to allow movement, Israel saying that it would allow movement, and we saw more trucks going in. Let's bring in international editor Sophie McQueen as well. And Sophie, while we chat, let's look at those visuals. We understand that these visuals on your screen are Israeli families who you said have been told that they will be receiving a hostage today.
As you are aware, since this war started, particularly for Israelis and those families who were affected, they always converge in the evening in Tel Aviv with a long table laid there and a demonstration of how they feel when others are having dinner with their families. They are not. And today it is a similar demonstration of what they have been going through, as you can see that table. And therefore we saw earlier on families looking at their cell phones, and you could see when the camera was zooming in terms of those families, some of them crying, and you have journalists who are there reporting, and you could see some of them even having pictures on their telephone of people who are part of the group that has been released. And we saw earlier on the children, the women being released. On the other side, you have the Palestinians who have been released. As you can see, it is outside that prison where they were kept, and I think after they were being processed and there was agreement and confirmation that on the other side they have delivered, the same was done by Israel. And therefore we see this movement. The challenge now is to get these hostages to Israel. It is going to be a long way. One, it is dark, and the issue of flying helicopters, it can be risky, but also in terms of driving on the ground also, it can be another challenge because it's dark. And therefore I think they will have to readjust the strategy so that you are able to beef up security as you take these hostages to Israel, and with families waiting. And we are hoping that later on the leaders of these countries will give a briefing, or maybe from the Palestine side, the Palestinian authorities and Hamas will have a briefing in terms of what's likely going to happen tomorrow. On the other side, the same will happen with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, expected to do the same. And we know that in relation to the Palestinians, the first dispatch has been completed, and therefore things are now beginning to shape up. But the big question is, will this pause hold until such time the others are released? Because we are talking about more than 200 people, and this is just a drop in an ocean, but a clear demonstration that the talks that were facilitated by countries such as Qatar, the Americans and Egypt in particular, finally something is happening. As you can see, the families around the guy there having a guitar, I think just rendering an item there to really try to calm, people, and also trying to demonstrate, that compassion, because these families from both sides, ordinary people have really endured trauma.
Let's listen into this moment. It sounds like a thankful song, families waiting to receive their loved ones. In the latest, Al Jazeera is reporting that an emergency service member, a member of Israel's National Emergency Service, is saying that they are in good and reasonable health. These relating to the 13 hostages released by Hamas. And we did see people walking unaided from the bus. Then they went somewhere and then got back on the transport and the convoy, among them a little girl with an older woman, possibly her mother. But that is the latest, that they do seem to be in good health. We know that hospitals are on standby. Possibly there will still be visits. That is unclear. But the Red Cross are confirming that those civilians were released earlier, and now confirmation that the Palestinian prisoners have been released from Israeli prisons.